and welcome back to this week's episode of Movie and TV Talk, where unfortunately I don't have any stories except for one, so I decided to swing it to discuss Disney movies in the past 6 years, including 2016. And I really want to discuss all these films because the biggest story that I pretty much covered yesterday was the Moana teaser trailer came out, and it was phenomenal. And I wanted to do something more with Moana. I was thinking of doing a shot-by-shot review of the trailer, but I feel at this point that time has passed. So I already reacted to it, I already reviewed it, and my review pretty much stays the same. I thought it was amazing, and I really loved The Rock's performance as Maui. So for this episode, because movie news is so light this week, and due to the horrible shooting in Orlando, I wanted to do something a bit more light and upbeat, discussing pretty much recent Disney movies. Now, this is not including Disney live-action films, and it's not including Pixar films, but we'll do a Pixar discussion at some point after Finding Dory airs. Also, just a quick FYI, for this video, I am not including the 2011 Winnie the Pooh film because it's Winnie the Pooh. I'm really including the Disney canonical films, and I'm not 100% positive if that Winnie the Pooh film fits in there, but it doesn't work, in my opinion, to be that Disney canonical film. So I don't want to add it there. By the way, I'm trying to get a good lighting system going here, so I just was moving my light. I just wanted to let you guys know. I also have notes over here, and I will be looking at them every so often just so I don't lose my train of thought, because as you know, I try not to slice the video up because I like to just have a plain discussion with you guys, because that is, I think, the most fun way to make a video. So, like I said, I'm not including Pixar, I'm not including Winnie the Pooh, and I'm not including any Disney live-action fairy tales. So, let's start right off in 2010 with Disney's Tangled. Tangled had a budget of $260 million. On this list, it is the highest budget film. It's crazy. Its budget, I believe, is as much as Titanic. I think it was truly one of the most expensive films ever to make. However, by the time they made Big Hero 6, they could make Tangled about 30 times in 1 year because the animation from 2010 to 2014 improved so much. So that's wild that the price of Tangled was $260 million, and Tangled made $591.8 million. It was a princess movie. Rapunzel was drawn by Glenn Keane. Flynn Rider is sort of like your persona of what you want a Disney prince to be. Rapunzel, Flynn, and Gothel essentially owned the movie. It was really focused on the three of them. It was a classic Disney story, and it worked really well. Rapunzel is our third Disney princess with powers, and when I say third, Pocahontas has the ability to control the wind, and Ariel is a mythical creature with aquakinesis and the ability of super strength and whatnot. You definitely see that in the movie. So Rapunzel appealed to a lot of people. For A, she's drawn by Glenn Keane, and you kind of see little bits of Ariel in Rapunzel. The movie's a musical. It's Disney's first CGI princess, and as great as Princess and the Frog was, Tangled just it blew it out of the water. It really did. So Tangled just has something very, very special about it. Now, it's also written by Nathan Greeno and Byron Howard, and Byron Howard's name is going to come back on this list in a little bit. So Tangled is what essentially started the Disney Renaissance. Now, a lot of people give that to Princess and the Frog, and I actually, for a long time, gave that to Princess and the Frog myself. But the Princess and the Frog, I feel, would be like a transition film from, like kind of bad Disney movies into really, really, really good Disney movies. Now, I like Princess and the Frog a lot. It was written by John Clements and Ron Musker. John Clements and Ron Musker. I thought I reversed their names for a second. So it's definitely a great movie. It's a throwback. It came out 20 years after Little Mermaid. It had a lot of Little Mermaid elements in it. You can see King Triton. It's a very good movie. It's a beautiful 2D movie, and it's Disney's technically second to last 2D animated film they've ever made. But I feel that it was the transition film, and Tangled is what set everything off, because Tangled did just so much better. Rapunzel's voiced by Mandy Moore. She's spunky. She's energetic. She's the princess that I think a lot of people really, really relate to of the main princesses. And I'm not going to talk about Merida on this list. We'll do a Pixar list at some point after Finding Dory comes out. So I just feel that Rapunzel was something very special. I think her healing powers were fantastic. Just her dynamic with Flynn Rider was really, really fun because, think about it. They started off as friends. then they sort of see feelings, and then boom, the feelings happen. I mean, I guess you could say they start off as enemies, but I don't really see them as enemies. They were just kind of polar opposites with their personalities. But also Rapunzel was very naive to the world around her. And also, one of the beauties about Tangled is, as I said, it's focused on Flynn, Rapunzel, and Mother Gothel. And Mother Gothel is a Disney villain who is a witch, or a witch persona, but without any witchly magic. The only thing that Gothel had for magic was siphoning Rapunzel's healing powers to keep herself alive. So she's a pretty crazy villain. She's very much reminds me of Lady Tremaine from Cinderella, and Cinderella is one of my favorite Disney classic fairy tale films. So you really see a lot of old Disney and that new Disney. God, I'm trying to get the best word to describe it. It's like you have the classical Disney motif, then you have the new spunky, rebellious, fun Disney princess, and then you have Rapunzel is a very expressive character, and her personality is just so different than other princesses, and it kind of leads into what Elsa, Anna, and everyone else will end up being. It's beautiful. Rapunzel was the starting princess, and I think When Will My Life Begin really related to a lot of people. The song starts off with 7 a.m., the usual morning lineup, because think about it, how many times a day, or how many days a week do we get up and do the same thing every day and want something new and want our life to change in a good way? And I think Rapunzel really reflects it. So I think she is very, very relatable. She's probably more relatable than Anna, in my opinion, but we'll talk about Anna when we get into Frozen. So Tangled, with a budget of $260 million, made $591 million worldwide. So it did quite well financially, but it didn't hit $600 million, and it obviously didn't hit the $1 billion club. But it did well, and I think Disney realized we have something special here with our princess franchises. So in 2011, they had the Winnie the Pooh movie. I'm not talking about that because it's not CGI. Then in 2012, they made Wreck-It Ralph. Now, Wreck-It Ralph is getting a sequel, which is fantastic. The world of Wreck-It Ralph can really be explored in a very significant way because there's so much that you can do. Because in Wreck-It Ralph, you had Candy Rush. I guess in Candy Crush. You have Penelope's world, you have Ralph's world, you have Hero's Duty. So you have all these worlds, but then you see Central Station where you can see more video game characters. And if Disney can get the rights to Sonic or Mario, who were in the film, I believe, or at least Sonic was, they have a lot of possibilities to do, and it'd be really, really cool to see more with Ralph. I loved Fix-It Felix Jr. I thought he was a really fun character, a great sidekick. I thought Ralph was so funny. I loved Ralph. I thought Ralph was one of the most creative Disney characters ever. Now, also, this movie was written by Phil Johnson and Jennifer Lee. Now, Phil Johnson has just worked with Disney, but Jennifer Lee is known for Frozen. This is essentially what gave her the Frozen script to write, and she wrote Ralph really well. Now, what's interesting about Ralph is Ralph had a budget of $165 million. That is $95 million less than Tangled, and it only made $471 million. Now, mathematically, I think it's almost the same percent-wise, but Ralph just didn't do that amazing for Disney. But again, it gave John Lasseter the opportunity to roll around in his $100 bills, because if you're John Lasseter, you're rolling around in $100 bills because you're a billionaire. So I think Wreck-It Ralph Tangled doesn't need a sequel. I really felt that it ended beautifully because, the beauty and allure of Rapunzel was her magic hair, which got cut, and then she got that happy ending with Flynn Rider. Ralph, the worlds are just vastly opened. So there's a lot more to explore, and I think Ralph needs a sequel more than Tangled 2. But if you would prefer a Tangled 2 to a Ralph 2, let me know in the comments below. So, 2013, what did we get? We got Frozen. Now, Frozen was going to be a Disney princess film, but because Frozen became so successful, it became its own brand. And Elsa and Anna have not been officially added to the Disney princess franchise, but I feel at some point Disney might go, we should add them just in case, because this way we have another franchise to fall back on, especially if Frozen 2 fails. But it won't fail because Frozen 2 just has so much hype. I mean, who doesn't love Let It Go? Or at least if you haven't heard Let It Go, where have you been? So Frozen's budget was $150 million. It was less than Wreck-It Ralph, but it made $1.2 billion at the box office, which is amazing. It is the second Disney animated movie to make over $1 billion, one of the 4 animated movies overall, and Disney Animation, because the first Disney film to make over $1 billion that was animated was from Pixar, but this is from Disney directly to make over $1 billion, and it did better than Toy Story 3. I think a lot of people connect to Elsa's character of the Snow Queen. I think a lot of people love seeing her in Anna Once Upon a Time. Anna's spunky and funny. She really reminded a lot of people of Rapunzel, particularly with her animation design. Now, I would say Anna's her own character, but I could definitely see them being cousins or siblings. There's a bunch of theories out there, you know, the Frozen Tangled Little Mermaid theory, or the Frozen Tarzan theory, and also Little Mermaid theory as well. I just don't think the Tarzan theory works. So Chris Buck apparently said it's true, but I don't believe him. So Frozen is getting a sequel, which I believe is going to come out in 2019. I don't know that for sure. And it was written by Chris Buck and Jennifer Lee. Chris Buck wrote Tarzan, Jennifer Lee wrote Wreck-It Ralph, and they just wrote a really special fun movie that is just breathtakingly animated. It's beautiful. I love the colors of Frozen. I love all the blue and green hues that the movie utilizes. But what's interesting about Frozen that I think really makes Tangled better. And now I love Frozen. I like Wreck-It Ralph, but I feel that one of my, not issues, but one of my minor critiques of the film is Tangled is, in essence, perfect to me because it focuses on three characters. I like when you have movies that you have a villain that you know, and then you have two other characters, and you have your minor characters that you're hopefully able to develop. But if you can't develop, if you have other characters, a lot of main characters, it's very hard to develop them all. So Ralph had, Fix-It Felix Jr., it had Ralph, it had Agent Calhoun, it had King Candy, it had Vanellope. It's just a lot. And 5 characters in animated film is tough, especially if they're not all minor or sidekicky. I think what served Disney well, like with The Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, and Aladdin, for example, was in Little Mermaid, the main character was really Ursula, and she was fighting... the main character was Ariel, and she was really fighting Ursula. But then, Eric, Sebastian, Flounder all worked really well as side characters. Then with Aladdin, you have Aladdin and Jasmine serving as your main characters, Genie as your secondary main character as well, right alongside Jasmine fighting Jafar. Then with Beauty and the Beast, you had Belle, Beast, Gaston. Like it works. I like that setup better. So with Frozen, you have Elsa, which I think people want to see more, which is why I think people were really drawn to her Once Upon a Time, because she is just so well developed. You have Anna, you have Hans, you have the Duke of Weselton, you have Kristoff. It again has 5 pretty relatively important characters. It also has her parents who you are questioning. It has the trolls, it has Olaf, it has Sven. It's really bogged down with too many characters, which I think is what cost development of at least Elsa, because during the movie, when I was watching it, as interested as I was in Anna, because Anna is the main character, I was like, I want to see more of Elsa. Like, I want to see Elsa. Because Elsa was the breakout character for Frozen. But did Frozen deserve $1 billion? Yes. Should Tangled have made $1 billion? Yes. Tangled should have totally made $1 billion. So Frozen is the first Disney animated film to make $1 billion. It was spectacular. Just the fact that its budget is so ridiculously reduced from Tangled budget is wild, and it did just radically better. So the next movie on this list is Big Hero 6. Now, Big Hero 6 is the first time Disney got to use Marvel characters since they acquired Marvel back in, I think, 2010. I believe the first Avengers came out in 2011 or 2012. I know it came out in 2012 because I was still in my undergrad. So I remember when they came out then, Disney had just got Marvel maybe a year or two ago, because they obviously needed enough time to shoot it. Again, my lighting just changed, so sorry about that. So Big Hero 6 was Disney's first time to use the Marvel characters. Now, this is, again, really funny to me, because the budget of Big Hero 6 was, again, less than the budget of Frozen. The budget of Big Hero 6 is $165 million. Then it made $657.8 million. So again, it did extremely well at the box office, but I think the draw of Marvel really helped here. I think the problem with Tangled was it really heavily marketed Rapunzel. I think Wreck-It Ralph, I'm not really sure why Ralph didn't do as well, because I feel that Ralph definitely had like a great video game draw to it, so that should have attracted both audiences. I definitely feel it would have fit the 4 corners. Big Hero 6 definitely hit the 4 corners. I think Frozen, just people were like, you have to see this movie because it's so amazing. That's why people kept coming to see it. I think I saw Frozen like 6 or 8 times. Don't judge me, please. But Big Hero 6 definitely hits all 4 corners, because you have animation, you have female animated characters, you have male animated characters, you have Marvel. Like, it really, really, really works. Now, the movie was written by Jordan Roberts and Dan Grayson. Now, I don't know much about Jordan Roberts. He, again, works with Disney, but Dan Gerson, was a Pixar writer who worked on Monsters Inc., Monsters University, and he also just died in February too. So I'm so sorry to your family, Mr. Gerson. And Big Hero 6 was an interesting film for me because I had to think for a while if I liked it more than I liked Frozen. And I don't like it more. I think another problem that I have with Big Hero 6 is there's way too many characters in the film. And I think, again, that causes the film to detract. You have Tadashi, you have Hiro, you have Baymax, you have, Honey Lemon, you have Fred, you have Go-Go Tamago. I mean, that's already 6. You have his mother, or his aunt, who I keep thinking is being voiced by Jennifer Aniston, but she's not voiced by Jennifer Aniston. You have his aunt. You have the bad guy, who's you have the bad guy. You have the would-be bad guy. Like I forget some of the characters' names, and I've seen Big Hero 6 at least 3 times, and the characters' names don't stick out to me, which is unfortunate. I remember Hiro, Tadashi, and Baymax because they're the main characters of the film, but Honey Lemon I had to think about. Go-Go Tamago I had to think about. Fred I just remember because he's voiced by oh my gosh, I'm blanking on his name. You can tell me in the comments below who's he's voiced by. TJ Miller. He's voiced by TJ Miller. I remembered. This is why it's fun not to cut, because you get to see me think. This is how I talk in real life. So it's fun to see me struggle. So Big Hero 6 had an interesting writer because it kind of had like the Pixar feel to it. San Francisco is a beautifully animated city. Baymax is real fun. But if you had to pick between Baymax and Olaf, who would you want? And honestly, I would actually pick Baymax. I think Baymax is more fun. Olaf's a bit more annoying. But I just feel the film had way too many characters that were underdeveloped. And you need the time to develop them. I mean, poor Tadashi got killed for no reason, and his death was just so unnecessary. And again, I don't think it stood out because I feel the villains were very, very boring. Or the villain was very, very, very boring. It didn't help. I do know in that movie that you have a cameo of Hans. So it's kind of funny that Hans ends up in Big Hero 6. So of these 6 films that I have here, Big Hero 6 is my least favorite of them all, with Tangled being my favorite. So let's go on to the next one, which is Zootopia, which came out this year. In 2015, Disney didn't have any animated films released. They only had Pixar films being released, which were Inside Out and The Good Dinosaur. I actually hated The Good Dinosaur. I didn't think it was good at all. I loved Inside Out. I'm a big fan of Amy Poehler. I think Amy Poehler did a fantastic job as Joy in Inside Out. I think Phyllis Smith did a fantastic job as Sadness. I love that movie. Mindy Kaling was a great discuss, but I'm not going to rant about Inside Out, but I really loved Inside Out, so I was quite happy with that in 2015. But Zootopia. How great was Zootopia? Now, Zootopia is Disney's second animated film to make $1 billion. Again, there's 4 animated films that have made $1 billion. It's Toy Story 3, Frozen, Big Hero, Minions, and Zootopia. And 2 of them belong directly to Disney Animation, and then the other one belongs to Universal. So this film was written by Byron Howard and Richard Moore. Now, Byron Howard worked on Tangled, and you can kind of feel the Tangled vibe between Judy and Nick. And then the other beautiful part of Big Hero 6, or Zootopia, sorry, the other beautiful part of Zootopia is you have the Tangled vibe. And the Tangled vibe is you have Judy, who's sort of like Bunny Rapunzel, $1 billion bunny because the movie made over $1 billion. But you have her kind of being Rapunzel, and then you have Nick Wilde sort of being Flynn. And what I mean by that is, I'm not saying they're copycats, but you have like your minor characters who get great development, but like, and you remember their names more or less. I mean, you remember Shakira's Gazelle. Okay, I guess I don't remember all their names because I've only seen the movie twice. But you remember the characters, like the main characters, the sheep. You like the scene with the fake mafia with the rats. But the movie really focuses on Nick and Judy, and that's what Tangled did. It focused on Rapunzel and Flynn. I keep bringing back Tangled here because I think Tangled is the one that started this off, and it had the highest quota. I just wish it did better at the box office. I don't think the movie ticket prices were cheaper when Tangled came out in 2010. I don't think they've gone up that much. I know for IMAX they've gone up, but Tangled was released on IMAX, so that's irrelevant. So the movie worked really great because it focuses on 2 characters that get extreme development, and then at the same time you have this mystery where you're really trying to wonder who's the bad guy. And it took me a long time to figure out who the bad guy was in Zootopia. I love Zootopia. My Zootopia review was over 20 minutes. I dissected that film pretty well. So this movie, Zootopia, had a budget of $150 million, the same budget of Frozen. So think about this. Zootopia and Frozen both had a budget of $150 million, had funky marketing, and both made $1 billion. I think Disney knows their magic number to make $1 billion. Put your budget down to 150. It's impressive that the movie made so much money, and it's a beautiful, beautiful movie that talks about so many relevant cultural topics that I think I don't think we'll ever allow the film to date itself. There are several Disney films that can date themselves. I don't think this is one of them. Sorry about that. My computer just acted funky. So this movie is stunning. Zootopia is a stunning, stunning movie, and I'm so happy that it made over $1 billion. So that is the Zootopia. So let's get into the last film, which is Moana. Now, unfortunately for Moana, we don't know its budget, and we obviously don't know how much it's going to make, but we know it's coming out this November, which is exciting. It's coming out on the same date as Frozen, which is pretty cool. And it's coming out around Thanksgiving. Now, Moana is a beach movie, or not a beach movie, it's a Pacific Islander movie. People were saying Hawaii, but it's definitely the Pacific Islands, Guam, Hawaii, etc. So I'm not going to say Hawaii. But it essentially takes place in a very warm climate, and I feel that it should have been released now, but I felt they want Finding Dory to do that instead. So at the same time, maybe it's a great time to go watch it because you're cold in the winter, and you'll be like, all right, I'm cold, let's go see a beach movie, then maybe I'll go to someplace warm and tropical in February, or you have a warm tropical place planned for Christmas. Either way, I think Disney worked out really well, but I kind of wish that Moana was being released sooner because I'm so excited for this film now just from this teaser trailer. So this is what I love about Moana. It is being done by John Clements and Ron Musker. Now, John Clements and Ron Musker were in charge of some of the best Disney Renaissance movies ever. One of them was The Little Mermaid. They did also Princess and the Frog. I believe they also did I definitely know they did Aladdin. I forget if they did Beauty and the Beast or not. I don't think they did. I think Linda Wolverton was the writer but not director of Beauty and the Beast. But Ron Clements and John Musker have done a lot of our childhood films. They did Hercules. They did The Hunchback of Notre Dame. There are movies that they really, really worked on that all of us love. So I feel that Moana is going to have great throwbacks to our childhood. Its animation is breathtaking. The Rock's Maui is so engaging and so much fun. I just love the way he looks. I thought he was fantastic. I really, really liked him. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what Moana has in store for us. Just from this teaser trailer, the only thing about Moana that I feel bad for is in the trailer, Moana herself didn't really get to do too much, but I thought just the animation of the movie is just so stunning that how can you not like it? I'm curious to see, because there's a scene when Moana somehow parts the sea, if Moana has powers or if it's like the gods parting the sea for her. I thought her pig was extremely cute. I like the pig. And I cannot wait to see what Moana has. Now, she will most likely join the Disney Princess franchise unless the movie does so well that she inadvertently creates the Hawaiian franchise and they blend Lilo and Stitch back into her, and then Moana becomes quite a big thing in the Disney theme parks, particularly at the Polynesian Hotel. But I think Moana just has so many possibilities. It has a great writing team to it. As I said with Princess and the Frog, which was written by John Clements and Ron Musker, they essentially transitioned Disney into the new Renaissance, because they were saying out with the old, in with the new. But now it's, we want to try the new stuff. And I think they're going to make a fantastic, fantastic movie. Moana is also a musical, which will be great as well. We haven't had a Disney musical since Frozen, so it's been 3 years, so I can't wait to check out the new musical, or the new songs we'll be getting. The soundtrack will probably be fantastic. I wonder what Moana's theme song will be in the score. The movie isn't done by Alan Menken. I don't have the composer up here. I just have a couple notes about the budget and stuff. But what I'm really looking forward to with Moana is if it's going to have the same Disney trend of having characters, themes in their theme songs play throughout, emotional times. Like, for example, in Little Mermaid, whenever Ariel's happy, you hear reprises in the lyrics not the lyrics, in the melody of the music, a part of your world. But when you hear Ursula, you have, parts of Poor Unfortunate Soul. So I'm wondering if they'll continue that trend with Moana. I saw that many times in Frozen. I think it's a beautiful Disney trend. So how excited are you for Moana? What do you think of these other top films or these other Disney films? Just so you hear my rating, excluding Moana, because it's not here, for the 5 Disney films that have come out. Here's my list: Big Hero 6, Wreck-It Ralph, Zootopia, Frozen, Tangled. That is my list for my top 5, or of those 5 that have come out. Those are how I like them in order of least to greatest. So share your list in the comments below. Thank you so much for tuning into this long what Disney has had and what Disney has coming, at least in terms of Moana. I'll do a Pixar one at some point if you want. Please share your thoughts about this in the comments below. If you have questions or stuff you want me to cover, let me know. I really appreciate that. And guys, we'll talk soon. All right. Bye. Oh, also, make sure to subscribe to this channel because that would be fantastic. Follow me on Snapchat, Instagram, Twitter. I always post and stuff like that. I love talking to you guys on Snapchat. Twitter, I tweet a lot, actually. I didn't think I would. Instagram, I post pretty good photos, I think. Make sure to subscribe here and to also the other channel, Model Nerds, which I think is going to be getting a big change, hopefully this week. All right, guys, I'm done. Bye.